So we're live?
Nope. No,
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are live.
We're live now.
Hi, everyone.
Wait. Is everybody here?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is our third session in this series of webinars about study in California. I am Mabel Martinez. I'm the Education USA advisor for Jalisco, Colima, and Nayarit. And today we're going to talk about work experience opportunities. But before we do that, I would like to briefly discuss what is Education USA for those of you that don't know about us. Education USA is a global network of advising centers from the US Department, and that's why we said that we are your official source on US higher education. The network is comprised by more than 400 advisory centers all over the world in more than 175 countries. What do we do is we provide accurate, comprehensive, and current information about the opportunities to study in one of the more of 4,000 accredited US higher education institutions. And we offer these services for students, governments, institutions, public universities, private universities, etc. What specific activities or service do we offer? We offer info sessions, group sessions, individual session, also known as one-on-one sessions. We also do workshops related to different topics to study in the US. It can be about how to write in your admission essays, or to provide you tips for standardized tests such as the GRE or the TOEFL or the ACT. We also do webinars like this, and we also are able to provide you resources and guides for study in the US, either for selecting the best fit institution for you according to your needs, either for preparing for taking an exam, etc. So I wanted to keep this introduction short because I would like that you receive all the information related to opportunities for work experience in the United States. We're gonna talk about CPT and OPT. These four are not really well known. And for that, we have three special guests today: Darren Grush from Los Angeles City College, Carol Johnson from Middlebury Institute, and Teresa Taupe from Santa Rosa Junior College. They are going to share valuable information. So I'm gonna give the floor to them.
Thank you so much, Mabel. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking time to learn more about this. In addition to the CPT and OPT, we're going to cover work study too, because that's also a great way to get work experience while you're studying at your California campus. Next slide, please. So we're going to cover today for you who is Study California, who we are. We'll give you a brief introduction. Why would you want to study in California? Introductions from each of our presenters. We're going to learn about on-campus work study and all the opportunities there. Curricular practical training, that's CPT, that acronym, and optional practical training, OPT. And then we'll give you some examples of what students have done, and then we're happy to take your questions. Next slide, please. So Study California, we are essentially a consortium of California schools from every level, community college, the Cal State system, the UC system, private schools, and we've all joined together in hopes of improving the branding of California as an education destination. And we're really focused on growing international student enrollment. Our mission is to recruit and increase the number and diversity of international students and assist them in finding the best fit institutions that are appropriate for their individual circumstances, goals, and interests. We do collaborate closely with the US Commercial Service, the Global Education Team, and the US State Department Education USA, which is our host today. Our goal is to form strategic alliances and develop international student recruitment partnerships with those collaborations. I've also included here a link to our Study California website. I can put it in the chat for you later, but it's a wonderful resource to search all of the Study California schools, to search by program and institution type, what region they're in. You can find out, there's profile information, contact information, and there's also a lot of resources about California in general and the different regions here, in addition to lots of good travel tips about traveling within California. Next slide, please. So the three presenters today represent colleges in 3 different areas of California, and you know it's a big state. Santa Rosa Junior College is in Sonoma County. Middlebury Institute of International Studies is on the Central Coast in Monterey, California. And then LA City College is right in the heart of Los Angeles. So we're representing 3 of the different regions within California. So why do you want to study in California? Well, number one, we're the 5th largest economy in the world. We compare with countries, with nations. So there's a lot going on here, a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunity. There's 39.5 million people in population here. So it's a big state with a lot of resources, a lot of different cities and different regions. We're number 1 among all the states in the US with the most international students. So we're the most popular destination. We have over 281 colleges and universities. So that gives you such a wide range to choose from, and you can really find the school that's the best fit for you. So whether you're interested in business or film, performing arts, communications, medicine, we have the right school for you. And you know, we're the home to the world's largest technology companies like Google and Facebook, Apple, many more. And it's a very diverse employment sector. There's everything from jobs from agricultural to entertainment and everything in between. So lots of variety to offer you for your practical training. Next slide, please. So we're going to start off here. You've already met me, Carol Johnson. In addition to being the chair of Study California, I'm also the Senior Assistant Director of Global Recruiting at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies. And we are a small private graduate school. That's all we offer is master's degree programs. And I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves. Darren?
Hi, my name is Darren Grosh. I'm the Associate Dean of Academic Affairs at Los Angeles City College, and I'm really excited to be here to talk with you about employment opportunities here in California.
Teresa, are you able to introduce yourself?
I'm sorry, she has not yet, she cannot open her mic yet.
Okay, well, we'll come back to Teresa. Charlotte, if you would, can you skip to the CPT section? No? There we go. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Again, my name is Darren Grosh, and I'm going to speak a little bit on what's called curricular practical training. In general, it's called practical training, and there's really two types of practical training that students who are on an F1 visa, so these are students who have attained a visa so they can study in the United States, they're able to do practical training. CPT and OPT. For CPT, this is where international students who are on an F1 visa are able to work off campus so they can gain practical experience in their field of study. This is a really great opportunity for students to go ahead and kind of expand upon the field of study that they're currently learning about at their institution, and hopefully find an internship or some type of work experience that again is related to their field of study. And that's what we're going to talk about when we discuss curricular practical training. It's attached to and related to your curricular field of study. Next slide, please. So again, I know Carol's going to talk more about what OPT is, which is optional practical training. But with curricular practical training, what makes it, I think, so unique is that, again, it's this opportunity to really explore and to dive deeper into your field of study when you are at a university or a community college. And it's what we call training. And so training is going to refer to this paid or unpaid work study experience. It could be an internship or it could be cooperative education. I think what's really important is that each campus, they control CPT in terms of how it is approved. So for some campuses, they may think of an internship as the only way you would be able to apply for and take part in CPT, where other campuses like our campus at LA City College, as long as you're in a field of study and you find a job opportunity outside of campus and you're able to get that approval from your department chair, then your CPT would be approved. But again, it has to be related to your field of study, and it doesn't matter if it's paid or unpaid, it would still count as CPT. Next slide. So how are you eligible to even apply for CPT or curricular practical training? So you first have to be a student for one academic year. And we define an academic year by a fall and a spring, or a spring and a fall. So essentially that means you would be enrolled in at least 12 units of credit for fall and at least 12 units of credit for spring. And once you've completed that academic year, you're then eligible to apply for CPT. And in addition to that, when you're applying for CPT, you're applying from the school that you are attending and you will earn that degree from. And again, it has to be related to your major area of study. It is important to note that it doesn't matter where you've done your first academic year at, as long as you've done an academic year at some institution of learning, a college or a university, that academic year will count, and that will allow you to do CPT right away. So for example, if we have a transfer student come into our community college and they have been previously studying at another university or community college prior to coming to our school, and they've done one academic year, a fall and a spring or a spring and a fall, then we would honor that academic year and the student would be able to apply for CPT right away, as long as they've received a job offer and it's been approved by their department. Next slide. So who can my employer be during CPT? So employment includes a whole range of what employment can and cannot be. It could be, again, an internship, a cooperative education arranged with the approval of your academic program. we've seen some students, for example, who are in our music program at LACC. They've created music and they apply for CPT so they can receive the royalty rights from the music they've produced, and that would count as CPT, and that allows them to earn money. Same with individuals who maybe have written a book or published a book. They're able to receive publishing rights through CPT. So again, there's a whole range of what CPT can look like, from the obscure, where you're maybe making money off of royalty rights from music or publishing rights off of a book, or you've found a job, an internship or something in the area, and you're having a chance to go ahead and work. Again, CPT can take place during the academic year, but it can also take place during the summer or winter. But it must be undertaken and completed prior to the completion of the course of study. I think one thing is really interesting is that we've seen students, for example, who maybe have found an internship in Ohio working at Nike. They're able to do that through CPT. They're able to go ahead and apply. They've received the job offer, and they can go and study at our school during the academic year, and then in the summer travel to Ohio to work for Nike, and that will count as CPT as long as they return back to continue their study with us the following semester. Next slide. So what are the regulations surrounding CPT? Again, CPT can only be used during a student's program of study. So this means that while you're a student studying at a particular institution, and again, you've done your one academic year of study, you are allowed to apply for CPT. And you can work for either 20 hours or less per week, or 20 hours or more per week. And I know Carol will talk a little bit more about how CPT will affect your OPT if you choose to do full-time during the regular academic term, but that's kind of more detailed. I think the main thing to understand is that as long as you're doing your part-time CPT, which is 20 hours or less during your fall or spring term, it will not affect any ability of you applying for and taking part in optional practical training. And that's really the most important takeaway when you're looking at the regulatory side of this. Again, during the summer, you are allowed to do more than 20 hours, up to full time, if you would like, during the summer. Why? Because you're not enrolled in any classes. See, that's the catch with CPT. You're a student. And so you're taking 12 units of credit to maintain your F1 visa student status, in addition to taking part in CPT, which is, again, is going to be 20 hours or less. And that's why you are not allowed to work technically more than 20 hours without it, of course, taking part of your OPT. Again, this will vary depending on who you speak to at each institution, as CPT is regulated or managed by your school. But the regulatory side of things, I think what is important to understand, again, it has to be related to your field of study in order for you to do CPT, and you must be enrolled in 12 units of credits in order to take part in CPT during the fall and spring term. Next slide, please. So again, who is eligible to take part in CPT? Again, as long as you're an F1 student, you're authorized for part-time CPT, again, which is 20 hours or less. For an undergraduate student, you keep hearing me say 12 units of credit. That's going to really apply to a student who is either maybe obtaining their bachelor's degree or an associate's degree, so undergraduate students. Whereas a student may be attending Middlebury, that would be 9 credits for graduate students typically. And again, I think what's important to note is that you're not able to do CPT when you are in your final semester of study. So keep that in mind as you're taking part in this. The other thing that is great about CPT is that you're able to do CPT, let's say when you are doing your associate's degree at a community college, and then you graduate. You can do CPT again when you're getting your bachelor's degree, and then you graduate. You can do CPT again when you're getting your master's degree. and then you finish that program and you can do CPT again when you're getting your doctoral degree. So CPT follows you wherever you go. And as long as you've done that academic year somewhere, you're eligible to go ahead and take part in CPT. It only does not count if you are coming from a language academy. That does not count as academic study. It only is counting if you're coming from a university or, again, a college. Next slide, please. So again, CPT is authorized each semester. So each semester you have to reapply for CPT. Again, and the way that that's going to work, and the main difference between the CPT and OPT is that with CPT, you have to be offered a position first. So you have to be offered a job. And then your department chair or your academic counselor will look at that job offer and determine if it's related to your field of study, at which point your school's international office would look at those documents and then approve you for CPT, and then provide you with the I-20 so you can go ahead and take part and begin your internship or work study. Again, it is something that is approved each semester, or if you're doing summer, then it would be, for the duration of summer. You're not allowed to work until you've received authorization with your I-20. And again, you must reapply each semester. There is a specific period of employment opportunity that you're going to be given by your employer, and you must adhere to those employment dates whenever you are offered an off-campus job. Next slide, please. And that's going to kind of take you over to optional practical training. But again, I just would conclude with CPT is a really great opportunity for any student who is looking for work experience related to their field of study. It is free. It costs no money to apply for CPT. You just need the approval from your department chair and from your international student office so you can begin doing CPT. And it is something that you should take advantage of when you are studying or looking at studying at a college or university. Always ask them if they are able to assist you with the CPT process. And I'll pass it over to my colleague, Carol Johnson.
Thank you so much, Darren. It's a little bit confusing, the difference between the two, but we're going to try to explain that to you today. Next slide, please. So OPT, optional practical training, is for F1 visa students, and it allows you 12 months of off-campus employment, again, for gaining practical experience. But you can't do this until after you've earned your degree. You can start the application process for it. Optional practical training is work authorization. You have to have completed at least 2 consecutive semesters, like CPT. They're very close in that. But you plan to seek employment in your field of study. You have to apply through the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service, USCIS, and you apply for an EAD, which means Employment Authorization Document. That is what allows you to work off campus and get practical training. Now, OPT can be taken, pre-OPT can be taken during a summer vacation, part-time during regular school sessions, or after completion of your course requirements. There are certain F1 status students who are in STEM programs, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, that after completing 1 year, 12 months of OPT practical training, you can apply for a 24-month extension because you're in that field. So that sometimes means for certain students, they can get up to 3 years of work experience, practical experience in their field after they graduate. So that's a pretty amazing opportunity. My school has multiple degrees that are STEM certified that allow that. Next slide, please. So what's the difference between pre-completion OPT and post-completion OPT? OPT, you get 12 months total of practical experience, and it's based on the fact that you are planning to complete a degree. Pre-completion occurs before the program end date. So let's say you completed 2 semesters of your master's degree and then had an opportunity to work during the summer in your field of study. Now you could think, should I do CPT or should I do OPT? Many times, and your advisor will help you, it makes more sense to do CPT then because it doesn't cut into your 12 months of OPT. If you use that summer for pre-completion OPT, let's say that's 3 months, that gets subtracted from the 12 months. And when you actually graduate, then that means you can only work for 9 months. That OPT is 12 months total. And doing, you can't apply for the STEM extension of 2 years unless you're doing the post-completion, unless you've already earned your degree program. It's not work experience while you're studying, but it's work experience after you've earned your degree. Next slide, please. So looking at eligibility, if you're in F1 student status and you've completed full-time enrollment for 1 fall and 1 spring semester, and it's within 90 days of doing so. So you can start to take on that responsibility. While you're still in school, you can only work 20 hours per week, but during a break or summer, you can work more. This is not an option if you're about to complete a degree. The full 12 months of OPT is available after you complete each degree level. So associates, if you're at a community college, bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhD. Just like Darren said with CPT, you can take advantage of this program at every level, potentially 4 different levels. And it's another reason there's an advantage to starting your studies in a community college, because you can do OPT when you complete that degree, bachelor's, master's, PhD. And again, if you're in a STEM program, you can extend for 24 months. And again, you apply for it, you have to be approved. Again, as I said, any pre-OPT employment will be subtracted from your post-OPT 12 months. So in a lot of ways, it's best for you to do CPT, which Darren covered. It's curricular practical training while you're still enrolled in your program, rather than the pre-OPT, because then that leaves you the full 12 months of post-OPT when you graduate. Sorry, I know it's a little bit confusing, but happy to go into it in more depth. When you get to your school, wherever you're studying, your immigration advisor will be able to explain this to you and, you know, tell you what the processes are, and your advisors will be able to tell you what's the best thing for you. But it's really amazing opportunities, and you can be getting paid. And in many cases, you can be getting paid pretty well. Next slide, please. So another thing that I think is pretty amazing is almost any employment type you can think of is approved. It has to be in your field of study. It has to be relevant. But you can work for multiple employers. Over that 12-month period, you could work for 3 different companies or businesses, or even do contract work. You can have short-term employers. Darren gave one example earlier about being a musician or an artist. What we call, you know, gigs. If you're a musician and you get to play a couple of concerts, that would be eligible for OPT. You can work as a contractor for hire, again, in your field of study. Self-employed. If you start a business and self-employed in your field, you have to show you have a business license and document your engagement in the business related to your degree. But self-employment is also eligible. And if you go to work for an agency or consulting firm that will hire you to do work that is related to your field. And last, you can do volunteer service, work as an unpaid intern. As long as it doesn't violate labor laws, you can still do that. So maybe 2 months, you do some really amazing volunteer experience that gives you a great network. And then the other 10 months, you might do paid work in some other way. So there's lots of approved employment types. Next slide, please. So there are quite a few regulations. I'm going to go over a few of them here. I know this is a little dense material. Again, just know that there's immigration advisors and advisors on your campus, every school you go to here, that will help you with these regulations. So unlike CPT, where you have to have a job offer first, you don't need to have that for OPT. Once you find a qualifying job, though, you have to go enter that into the CPT system, which is the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. You have to keep track of it. Unemployment is allowed for no more than 90 days after the end of classes. So when your classes end and you earn your degree, you have 90 days to find a job. And again, you can apply for OPT and not have a job yet. You just are authorized to do that. For post-OPT, you can work anywhere in the US. So even if you come to a school in California, which we hope you do, you could take a job in Texas or New York or Minnesota or Montana. You know, you're not limited to being in California only. So that opens up practical experience across the US. There's no special permission if you want to change employers or terminate your employment. If you go to work somewhere and 3 months and you say, this is not a good experience and I'm not learning what I need and I want to try something else, you can terminate your experience. But again, you have 90 days of unemployment during your term of OPT. So you can't be unemployed for any longer than that. Once you complete your degree, you cannot work on campus or off campus until you have that employment authorization document in your possession. So if you apply for it and somebody wants to hire you the day after you graduate, but you don't have your EAD, employment authorization document, you can't start until you actually have that. F1 OPT students are permitted a maximum of 90 unemployment days between the start and end date. So again, you could be unemployed for 90 days after you graduate and get a job, or you can be unemployed for 30 days and then potentially work for 6 months, take 2 months off of unemployment, 60 days, and then do another 6 months of work. But on either side, 90 days is the maximum you can be eligible for OPT and not be working. And another thing is, while you're approved for OPT, if you're around your campus or anywhere, you could still take a recreational course like volleyball or swimming or soccer, something. But you can't start a new degree. If you start a new academic degree, then your OPT is automatically terminated. So of course, most students, if they start in a community college and they apply for OPT and they take that OPT experience, they don't want to start their undergraduate degree till they've been able to get the full benefit of that OPT experience. And again, they can do that after their undergraduate studies, before they start a master's, and after they have a master's, before they start a PhD program. So, you know, you can take advantage of this multiple times. Next slide, please. So I wanted to give you a couple examples of some students that I know that have done a really good job of taking advantage of all the opportunities on campus. We're going to go back to Teresa, and she's going to tell us about on-campus work study. But this student, Maria from Argentina, on campus, she worked as a student ambassador for her master's program. She worked as a teaching assistant for the professor for a fall 2019 semester. She worked as a graduate assistant in our career advising center, and she was a research assistant for the Center for the Blue Economy. All of that was work study, and she was getting paid by the school to do that work while she was studying. Then she did CPT from June through May from California Natural Resources Agency. She worked as a graduate student assistant. And then once she graduated, she got this amazing OPT opportunity working for an environmental sustainability consultant. So you can see she took advantage of multiple opportunities. Now, if she had started her California education sooner at community college or undergrad, she could have even had more work experience. Next slide, please. Then I wanted to bring up this student who I worked with and we're very proud of, Lucia Falcon. She's from Mexico. She took advantage of CPT and OPT and did some pretty amazing things. So you'll see she was enrolled in her degree from 2015 to 2017. In the middle of her program, in the summer, between year 1 and year 2, after completing 2 semesters, excuse me, she worked for the New York County District Attorney's Office. So that was CPT. Then in the summer after she graduated, one of her OPT positions was working for the Consulate General of Mexico in New York. She did that from July until October. Then in October, more OPT, she went to work for the Executive Office of Immigration Review, and actually in the Office of Special Narcotics Prosecutor of New York. So we kind of think she got to hear some pretty amazing things being an interpreter and translator in that program. Excuse me. And then most recently, she worked for SOS International LLC, which she worked as a certified court interpreter for Spanish. Now, her employment shows ending at September 2020 because Lucia decided to go back to school, and she's now enrolled in Columbia Law School. So, but she did a great job of getting some amazing CPT and OPT experiences. So now we're going to go back to the work study section, and hopefully Teresa will be able to join us. And if we're having a problem with that, we'll try to fill in for her, but she's got some great information about on-campus work study.
Thank you, Carol. And thank you to everyone for joining us today. I am really sorry I was having some technical difficulties, but I made it, I'm here. I'll try to make this brief. I know that we are almost out of time. So I am going to be talking to you about working on campus, which is your first opportunity for employment in the United States. So next slide, please. Everyone can hear me, right? I hope. The first thing I'd like to say is that all of the Study California institutions will have resources for you that you can take advantage of. I encourage you to go into their employment services office. It might be called career services, or you may be going through the human resources department or directly to the International Student Program office. But there will be people on campus who can help you with all of the opportunities that you'll have for employment. So you can see there's a flyer up there in the upper right-hand corner that's advertising one of the employment workshops that we offer to international students at Santa Rosa Junior College. And at that workshop, we answer all of your questions about on-campus employment, CPT, OPT, and as I said, all the Study California institutions, I'm sure, offer something like that. So be rest assured that you'll find help on the campuses of our institutions. So all F1 students, that's international students who are coming into the US, they come with an F1 student visa. They're all eligible to work on campus right away. In fact, you can start applying for jobs even before you leave from home on some campuses, and you can actually start working 30 days before the program, your program of study begins. So this is great news. You don't have to wait. Different institutions have different policies about employment in general and the steps that you need to take on their campus. But the on-campus employment is definitely the easiest one, the least cumbersome. So you do not need prior authorization from USCIS, which Carol was talking about earlier. That's the US government. You do not need prior authorization to work on campus. You are limited to 20 hours of employment per week while school's in session. During the breaks, you can work up to 40 hours per week, depending on the campus policies again. But from a legal standpoint, you can work up to 40 hours a week if your campus allows it. You can't displace a US citizen for a job, but again, your institution will help you with this. And you do need to report the employment to the International Student Office or whoever's walking you through the process of obtaining a job on campus, because you will need a certification letter from them to apply for your Social Security card from the Social Security Administration. You need that number in order to get paid for the employment. Okay, next slide, please. So there are two types of on-campus employment. One, of course, is working directly on the main campus of the institution that you're attending. So, well, at Santa Rosa Junior College, for example, we have 5 different locations. So you could work at any of those. You could work on our college farm. You could work at our culinary school. You can work on our main campus in Santa Rosa, also our auxiliary campus in Petaluma, as well as our public safety training center. But in addition to working directly on campus for the university or college, you have the opportunity to work for any of the service providers that they have on campus, as long as they're working, the job that you have is working directly with students. So for example, you could work at the bookstore or the cafeteria. At Santa Rosa JC, we have both a bookstore and a cafeteria that are not owned or operated by Santa Rosa Junior College, but they are on our campus. So international students do frequently work for one of those businesses. And then employment located on campus that doesn't directly involve services to students is not eligible for on-campus study, work study for international students. So the example they're giving there is construction work. So if, like at Santa Rosa JC, we're doing a lot of campus improvements, we have a lot of work going on by construction workers, but international students are not eligible for that type of employment. You are, however, eligible for educationally affiliated off-campus locations. So that's most commonly, research that's being conducted by your school. So they may be, right on the coast Like all of our campuses are very close to the Pacific Ocean. So they may have a research lab set up at the ocean, and they're contracting with researchers there with the lab. So you are eligible to take advantage of those types of opportunities. Okay, next slide, please. So this is just a few examples of the types of employment opportunities that I know Santa Rosa Junior College students have taken advantage of. This will vary depending on the campus, the size of the campus, where they're located. We have beautiful grounds at Santa Rosa, so a lot of our students do landscaping or some sort of groundskeeping. Which is really fun. They get to be outside, they're in the sun, having a great time going around the campus and helping us beautify the campus. We have a child care center. We have a teacher program, and at that teaching program, there's a child care center as well as a preschool. So you might be able to work there. You could work in one of our science labs or a different type of lab that we have. Office assistants do a wide variety of jobs. In the International Student Program office, we always have at least 2 international students working, and they do all sorts of fun things. General office duties, but also they help us plan for events. 2 international students are on a panel with me, a virtual panel next week, where they're talking about their experience. So they get involved in all different types of things. We have an adapted PE program, so you might be assisting people with disabilities to swim, for example. You could work on the farm, you can work in our coffee shop, bookstore, maybe part of the custodial staff, media services. We have one of our international students still working in our media services office, even though he's graduated and gone on to Sonoma State University. He's using us as his CPT experience now. You could be a tutor. So if I'm sure you speak Spanish fluently, so there you go. You might be able to tutor other students in Spanish or a different subject. If you're strong in science or math, the students often need tutoring in those subjects as well. Okay, next slide. Okay, every campus, as I mentioned, is a little bit different with how on-campus employment is handled. So this is the process at Santa Rosa Junior College. You do need to be enrolled full-time. That is true everywhere. And then we require you to do the orientation day. That can be done online. Not every campus will require that, but Santa Rosa does. And then you can see the list of requirements that you will be, that you'll be following, the checklist for you to follow. And then ultimately you get a Social Security card and you start working, and that's how you'll be eligible to get paid for your on-campus employment. So the next slide is a short video that I'd like to show that just summarizes everything that we've all talked about. So let's go ahead and watch this, and hopefully you'll have some questions.
What I like about my job is to make customers happy and to get experience to prepare for my future.
As an international student attending Santa Rosa Junior College, you will be eligible for several categories of employment.
My dream here in the United States is to become a doctor, and getting this job here as student health service is so important to get the first skills so I can be successful in the future.
I like my job because it's all about helping people, and I like helping people.
You can work part-time on campus as soon as you begin school.
I think this job will help me in the future because, for example, I did presentations in front of 1,000 people. So I can learn how to present it in front of those kind of huge number of people.
What I like about my job is be able to help students who are in crisis or are in deep need of help and deliver them a good service so they can leave here with a huge smile.
The friendly staff in the Student Employment Office will gladly assist you with on-campus job opportunities.
I found my job in the list of job opening in Student Employment Office. I just applied to admission record and I got the job.
I found my job walking around on campus. A few people were out doing health promotion and they brought me over to the clinic and I applied. Having a job on campus is a great way to gain valuable work experience, refine your communication skills, and earn money.
This is my first job in the United States, and this job gave me opportunity to learn American culture and work ethics, also improve my English.
This job will help me in the future as I plan to be a midwife. Being able to understand and work with clients and confidentiality, this job is perfect.
I like my job because it helps me to communicate with people, and also I have made so many friends.
I am majoring in business administration, and here I'm learning customer service and time management.
With prior authorization, international students who have completed at least 1 year of study can find a job off campus in a field directly related to their major.
My job here at Humboldt Community Preschool really ties in closely with my major. Everything I learn in class is very closely related to what I do here.
CPT is an opportunity to gain real-world work experience while in school. Although it can be challenging to balance classes and work, getting a job during college will give you a competitive edge over students with no work experience. It will also make you more attractive to future employers.
My major is sustainable agriculture, and this job is related with my major because I'm planting seeds, and later on people will take those plants home and they will get food from them.
Once you have completed your program of study, you can use what you've learned in SRJC classes by finding a full-time job off campus.
Once I have my certificate from JC, with this on my resume, especially working off campus, I will really be able to go out in the workforce and find something that's a good match for me.
For more information, go to international.santarosa.edu/employment.
Take us to the end, please, Charlotte. Well, thank you, everybody. Sorry we went a little out of order, but we got through all the content, and I hope you have some questions. You'll see the contact information here for all the presenters. It does say I am going to type our website in to the chat.
Hello, Teresa. Hello, Carol, and hello, Darren. We have a few questions.
Great.
So the first question is, with the OPT, is it possible to work in the space industry? For example, NASA, SpaceX, or something related?
As long as that's what your area of study was. You know, if you studied aerospace and that's where your background was. I know a few campuses that have like astrophysics programs. Again, it must be related to your field. And depending on what it is and what the security clearance is, the security clearance at some places might be pretty high, but there should be some work you can do. But again, it has to be directly related to your field of study.
Thank you, Carol. I have another question. If I apply to CPT, can I apply to post-OPT? Which restrictions exist?
Yeah, so in terms of applying for post-OPT, a lot of students will do CPT, curricular practical training, while they're a student. And then in their final semester, they will apply to take part in or to do post-OPT. Now, as Carol mentioned, OPT is 12 months of practical training. For the most part, there's STEM OPT, but just to keep it simple, there's 12 months of OPT that you have access to. And if you do CPT and during the fall and the spring, you do more than 20 hours, which would be full-time, for every month of full-time CPT you're doing, you're eating into your 12 months of OPT post practical training. So for example, you do 3 months of full-time CPT during the spring semester, you now have 9 months of post OPT that you're able to go ahead and access. Whereas if you just do part-time CPT during the fall or the spring, it does not take up any of your post OPT or your 12 months of OPT. time at all. So you can just do both, and it's really seamless. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Teresa or Carol.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, I have another question. June, July, August, and September, are these months summertime in the US?
Yes.
Yes, that's,
Well, with the exception of September, right? We would consider that fall.
yeah, that many of our schools, we start like either the very last week of August or beginning of September. So most schools, June, July, August is summer.
And our last question is, are these options also available for students with a J1 visa?
No.
No, yeah.
This is only for students who are on an F1 visa type. So a student who is here studying in the United States on an F1 visa, foreign student, this is specific for them.
Many times the J1 are sponsored by an organization or a government or a company, and they want to send them for specific training to have them bring that knowledge back to their company or business or organization. And so J1s normally don't have all these practical experience opportunities the same way that a regular F1 student visa does.
Thank you very much, Darren, Teresa, and Carol, for all of our questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much to everyone. But before we say goodbye, I would like to invite you to our next session. That will be tomorrow. And we're going to talk about options for funding your California education. So don't miss that at 5 p.m. And also, please don't forget to contact us. You can reach us either social media, you can visit our WordPress or YouTube channel, or you can email us to mexico@educationusa.org. So yeah, basically that's it. Thank you very much to everyone for attending this session and for our great presenters. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.